I never thought a simple phone call could change everything. It had been just 3 months since my wedding. I had imagined married life to be tender, full of laughter and late-night conversations. Instead, it felt like I was living beside a shadow. My husband, Ritesh, wasn't unkind, but he was distant. His smiles rarely reached his eyes anymore, and most evenings he buried himself in his phone or disappeared to meet friends. I told myself it was just the adjustment period, that love sometimes took time to settle in. But the silence between us grew louder with each passing day. Among Ritesh's closest friends was Ravi, a man I had met several times. He was charming in a loud, overconfident way, always cracking jokes and overstepping boundaries just enough to make me uncomfortable, though I never mentioned it. Then there was Karen, Ravi's friend, someone I barely knew. He had come to our wedding, said hello, but I'd never had a real conversation with him. So when Karen called me out of the blue that Thursday afternoon, I was surprised. His voice was hurried, slightly breathless. "Hey, sorry to bother you," he said. "Ravi told me you were good with organizing things. I need a small favor. Can you stop by my house? I really need your help with something." I hesitated. "Is everything okay?" Yeah. He laughed, though it sounded forced. "Nothing serious, just important to me." I considered saying no. Ritesh was at work. I had no obligation. But something in Karen's tone suggested urgency, and a strange part of me, perhaps craving distraction, agreed. When I reached his house, the gate was slightly ajar. The building was quiet, almost too quiet. I rang the bell. He opened the door instantly, as if he'd been waiting behind it. "Thanks for coming," he said, stepping aside. I walked in slowly. The curtains were drawn, the air inside thick and oddly warm. As I turned, I saw Ravi lounging on the sofa. "You didn't tell me Ravi would be here," I said, trying to sound casual. Karen smiled. "It's better this way." I frowned. Better for what? That's when Ravi stood up, eyes sharp and unfamiliar. The way he looked at me made my skin crawl. A strange knot formed in my stomach. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. I took a step back. "I think I should go." "You just got here," Ravi said, his voice smooth but heavy with implication. The air shifted. My pulse quickened. I looked toward the door. But Karen was already there, quietly turning the lock. And just like that, I realized I had made a mistake. A terrible, irreversible mistake. I stood frozen, trying to steady my breathing as Ravi took a slow step forward. Karen lingered by the door, his expression unreadable, eyes cold. My voice came out thinner than I expected. "What is this?" Ravi tilted his head, smiling without warmth. "Your wedding night, remember? We thought you might like a proper celebration." I blinked, stunned, convinced I had misheard. "What are you talking about?" But there was no confusion in their eyes, only cruel amusement. Karen moved closer. "Don't be so uptight. We're all friends here, aren't we? Ritesh won't mind. He shares everything." My chest tightened. "You're lying." Neither answered. I turned and rushed toward the door, but Ravi blocked me. "You're not going anywhere." Panic surged through me. My body moved on instinct, pushing, twisting, trying to break free, but their grip was too strong, and the room suddenly felt too small, too dark. My screams were muffled by fear, caught somewhere between my lungs and throat. I remember details I wish I didn't. The weight of the silence. The bitter scent of cheap cologne. The way the clock on the wall kept ticking, unfazed by what was unfolding. What they did was methodical, deliberate. I wasn't a person in that moment. I was a thing, a possession, an afterthought in their celebration of dominance and mockery. When it was over, they didn't say a word. Karen handed me a glass of water, like he had done me a favor. Ravi lit a cigarette and smirked, eyes flickering toward the locked door before unlocking it again. "You can go," he said. I stood on shaky legs, my body foreign to me. My mind felt fractured, held together by instinct alone. I don't remember walking out, only the sound of the latch clicking behind me and the realization that the sun had shifted in the sky. The world outside looked the same, unmoved, untouched. But I wasn't the same. I kept walking. Not home. Just away. My mind replayed their words, their laughter, over and over, like a broken record slicing into my skull. The worst part wasn't the act itself. It was the cruelty, the intentionality. They weren't drunk. They weren't impulsive. They had planned it. Together. With calm precision. And somewhere in the chaos, a question began to form. Did Ritesh know? That question clung to me like a second skin, suffocating, whispering its poison with every step I took. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply walked, carrying a silence heavier than I knew possible. But something inside me had cracked. And nothing, not love, not marriage, not time, could ever piece it back together again. I returned home before sunset. The house felt colder than I remembered, even though everything was in its place. Curtains gently swaying, the scent of incense still lingering faintly in the hallway. I walked straight to the bathroom, locked the door, and stared at myself in the mirror. My face looked the same, but my eyes didn't. Something was missing, maybe innocence, maybe trust, or both. I scrubbed my skin until it turned red, but no amount of soap could erase what I felt. That night, Ritesh came home late. I watched him from the kitchen doorway as he kicked off his shoes and casually checked his phone, completely unaware, or so it seemed. He looked up, smiled faintly. "You okay?" I nodded. "Just tired." He didn't press. He never did. The days that followed blurred together. I cooked, cleaned, smiled when necessary. But I wasn't present. I was floating above myself, watching a version of me pretend everything was fine. Inside, I was unraveling. I avoided looking at him too long. I couldn't bear the thought that he might have known, that he might have allowed it, that this man I had married, this man I had once trusted, could be part of something so monstrous. One evening, I heard him laughing in the other room. I paused in the hallway, listening. Yeah, she didn't suspect anything, he said into the phone, voice low but amused. A pause. She's quiet now. Withdrawn. Makes things easier. My breath caught. I didn't hear a name, but I didn't need one. It felt like betrayal layered over betrayal, my own husband, speaking of me like a burden removed. That night, I watched him sleep beside me. Peaceful, undisturbed. I wanted to ask him everything. Did you know? Did you send me there? Did you let them? But I couldn't, because I was afraid of the answer. I started journaling. Each entry was like bleeding onto paper, raw, desperate, necessary. Writing became the only place I could speak freely. It kept me grounded, alive. I withdrew from friends, family, even myself. I stopped dressing up, stopped laughing. People noticed. Some asked. I smiled and said I was fine. But I wasn't. I was living with a question that hollowed me out. Was this just a one-time betrayal? Or had my entire marriage been a lie? The silence between us grew thicker, heavier. At night, it wrapped around me like a shroud. One day, I caught Ritesh glancing at my journal. He didn't ask about it, just looked away, as if pretending not to notice would erase its presence. But I saw the flicker in his eyes. Fear. And that told me something I hadn't dared believe until then. He knew. The morning I decided to leave, the sky was gray. I didn't pack much. Just a few clothes, my journal, and the version of myself that still had breath left. I moved quietly, like a ghost slipping through her own life, careful not to wake Ritesh. He lay curled on his side, the same way he always slept, peacefully, as if untouched by the rot he helped create. I paused at the door, half expecting some twist of fate to stop me. A call, a tear, regret. But nothing came. Only silence. Downstairs, I slipped the key onto the kitchen counter. Next to it, I left my journal, every page filled with the pieces of a story I could no longer carry alone. I didn't know what he'd do with it. Read it. Burn it. Deny it. I didn't care. Let the truth be his burden now. I found a room to rent across the city, small, plain, but mine. I stared at the blank walls and felt, for the first time in weeks, something close to relief. I didn't go to the police. Not yet. I wasn't ready to fight that battle. Not when my soul still felt bruised and my voice uncertain. But I began writing my story online, anonymously. I told it not for pity, but for release. To my surprise, people listened. Women reached out. Strangers left words of strength, of understanding. Some said they had stories too, dark corners of memory they'd never dared to share. And slowly, I began to understand something I hadn't before. What happened to me was not love, not friendship, not accident. It was a system, a quiet, cruel conspiracy woven into a marriage that was never meant to nurture, only control. And I had been the final piece in their game. But I wasn't a victim anymore. One evening, I received an anonymous message. No name, just a single sentence. They've done this before. I stared at the screen, pulse racing. The message didn't scare me. It confirmed what I already suspected, that I wasn't the first, but I would be the last who stayed silent. I printed my journal. Every entry, every page. I didn't mail it to the police yet. I mailed it to a journalist known for chasing hard truths. Let them unravel the rest. As for me, I'm still healing, still learning to be alone without feeling lonely. I don't know where this path leads, but for the first time, I feel like I'm the one walking it, not being dragged. They celebrated what they thought was a conquest. But I walked away with something they never expected, my voice. And now, I will never let them silence it again.